Welcome back to Andersen. We're in the kitchen today, and today we are going to make a streusel coffee cake. Now we already have our dough ready. It has been rising in the fridge overnight. I am going to provide a link to the video where I made this dough, or a batch of this dough, not this specific dough, but I will provide a link to that recipe because that's the dough you're going to need. You can do a lot of things with this dough. And the thing we're going to do is make a streusel coffee cake. So let's start by unwrapping our dough. It does have to live in the fridge overnight. So we're just going to gently unwrap, and you'll see it does indeed rise in the fridge. So that's why this wrapping is now so tight. That's fine. Let's take that off. And it should be fairly cold because it's been in your fridge. The dogs are here. No, you guys can't eat this. This is raw dough. Okay. And it's a sticky dough. So, there's your dough. Don't do anything with it yet. Just let it be unwrapped. So it should be straight from the fridge. Don't let it warm up first. You're going to want a 9 by 13 pan. So just a larger size cake pan. And you're going to want to spray that with a cooking spray. You could also butter and flour if you like, but cooking spray is just so easy. So we're just going to use a cooking spray. So easy. There we go. Done. Set that aside. Now we're going to take our dough and we're just going to kind of stretch it out a little bit. Remember, it's cold and won't want to work. Okay, so that's okay. It's cold and is going to resist your efforts to do things. Only pat it down till it's about like that big. Peel it up off your silicone baking mat. And yes, I do recommend using silicone baking mats. Lay it in your pan. And then we're just going to finish pressing it. Okay, be gentle because it is a stiff dough because it's cold. So you just want to make sure that you're giving it a good press. Now, it is important that you let this dough rise in the fridge overnight before you start doing this. And that's because the rising that happens in the fridge is a slower rise than happens on your countertop. And it just changes the texture and even the flavor. This will have a bit of a deeper flavor than if you hadn't risen it in the fridge. So you do want to let it rise in the fridge. It's actually really important to these types of coffee cake. Here we go. There we are. All done. Now we are going to set that aside to rise, and because this is really cold, that's going to take probably 2 hours. So we're just going to pop that somewhere warm and kind of damp, like a microwave, or you can cover it with a damp tea towel, or however you like to rise your bread. And you do want this to double in size, but it has to warm up. So put this aside, let it double in size, or at least look like bread dough. Does need to rise. So we're going to put this aside and come back in 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, just to make sure that it is rising, and then we'll continue on with our next step. All right, so it's been a couple of hours. We're going to uncover our dough, and it looks pretty good. So now what we want to do is we want to cut it into like serving sizes, whatever serving size you want, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to, about like that. You're not taking it out of the pan, by the way. It's not cooked yet. You just want to kind of pre-slice it. It's good if this is wet, if your blade is wet, so I'm just going to wet it again. If your blade is wet, it won't stick as much. And then we're just going to do this way and this way. Okay, there we go. Don't need that anymore. Now we need to do our streusel topping. So we're going to take, this is a 1/4 cup of butter. We're going to add to that 1/2 cup of flour. Then we are going to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. You can reduce those amounts if you're not as fond of nutmeg and cinnamon as I am. That's kind of the maximum amount you want to go to, so it's okay if you reduce that. Not everyone loves cinnamon as much as I do. And now you're just going to use a fork to cut through this, because you don't want the margarine or the butter. You can use margarine if you like. You don't want the butter or margarine melted. You want kind of a crumbly mixture. So just use a fork to kind of bash it all together, because you want it crumbly. You don't want melted, perfect mixture. Streusels should have a crumbly top, and to do that we need a crumbly topping. So this is our topping. Just make sure it's well mixed. You don't want a spot that has a lot of flour and no sugar, because that won't taste good. So there we go. While you're doing this, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? That looks pretty good. Remix that in there. No, I'm imagining things. I thought there was a hair on my bowl. There wasn't. Okay, so now that we've got this, we are going to take our topping and we're going to just carefully spread it over the top. Okay. And you want to spread it over the entire thing. Kind of make sure that butter is evenly distributed, so when it melts, it kind of gets all gooey. And use the entire thing. So don't be like, oh no, I think that's enough. No, no. You want lots of topping. And you can also add nuts. Now I'm going to add nuts to half of it, because not everybody in the house likes nuts. I am going to add walnuts, okay? But I'm only going to do walnuts on half. So you can do walnuts if you like. You can do pecans. You can do almonds. Basically, any nuts you want. You can chop them small. You can leave them kind of large. It's up to you. But I'm only doing nuts on half. And you can, of course, not put the nuts on at all. Especially if you have somebody who is allergic to nuts, you would leave them off. But I am putting nuts on half of it because I love nuts. My kids do not like nuts on things. I know, they're weird, but they don't like nuts on things, so that's fine. And I'm not going to add a ton of nuts, but, you know, some nuts is good. I like nuts. There we go. So now we are going to stick this in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to bake it for 25 minutes. So we will come back in 25 minutes and take a look at how it's baked. And there we go. Our streusel coffee cake is ready. It's been cooling for about 10 minutes in the pan. Now getting this out is really easy. You just use a flat-sided spatula, kind of push down where you already made your marks. Okay, it should come apart easily because you already made your marks, and just get in there and pull it out. Look at that. Delicious and a lot of fun to make. This will be a hit with pretty much everyone. So enjoy making your streusel coffee cake. Make it for guests, make it for yourself, make it for your kids. Everyone loves it. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.